laughing at the beginning.
I know, for sure.
All right. Hi. No, I hated that.
Okay, you got to redo that one.
Okay. Hi, and welcome to Queens of the Paddock, an F1 podcast. My name is Alex.
And I'm Courtney.
And today we're going to be talking about Mercedes.
Yeah, so we've now officially moved into the middle of the steak, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I was going to tell you,
the real good part.
I think that we should declare Red Bull the port, the after drink that I hate. It's terrible.
Good.
So I think
because then Ferrari's the dessert. We already said that.
Exactly. So Mercedes is going to be like the core of the meat.
Yes. Like you're finishing up your sides. You're getting all of the good.
You're getting ready for the good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
I know. I was thinking about that today. I was like, oh, man, I hate a port. And I was like, that's perfect because I hate Red Bull.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever drank a port after I don't think I have.
I drank one the night I met Austin and it was terrible.
Really?
It was so disgusting.
Is it like whiskey? I don't even know what it is.
I don't even know how to describe it. It's like wine, but not.
I feel like it's like hot wine. Is that totally wrong?
It's not hot. It's cold. It's wine. It's like a licorice. Ugh. I don't even. Yeah.
Ugh.
We'll have to try.
We don't like it.
Yeah, not a port fan. So, anyway, so we're in the meat and potatoes with Mercedes. They finished third on the grid, surprisingly. I mean, they had a rough start, in my opinion, to the season.
Yeah, they really did.
But they really turned it around.
They turned it around towards the end.
Like after summer break, I would say.
Yeah. And it was kind of giving me a scare towards the end because I was like, oh my God, are they going to
It was close with Ferrari at some points. There were some races where I was like, wait, where did Mercedes come from?
Right.
Like, this is not the team that we saw.
It wasn't expected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all their porpoising issues and everything they had at the beginning of the year.
And I just felt like Lewis and George just couldn't hit their stride.
Yeah.
They were really just struggling.
They would do really well, and then it would fall apart.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, give me some background on Mercedes.
So, getting into the team. So, they are based in Brackley in the United Kingdom. They're British. I guess their little headquarters isn't over there.
We had Alpine was all French.
Right.
Well, I guess we can't say, because no, we can. Mercedes is an all British team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, Toto's not.
But I know, that's what I was like.
Drivers.
But I was trying to think back to Otmar.
Right.
Is he French? I don't think he was French.
He's Romanian.
Okay.
American.
So, okay, now we can say it. I'm going to go with an all British team. Yeah.
But, okay, so they first were involved in the sport back in 1954. They were competing and everything was going great until they had this horrible tragedy at the Le Mans race. And it was not a Formula One race, right? So it was the 24 hours of Le Mans.
Oh.
But they had a car driving in that race as well.
Uh-huh.
And it was a horrible accident. It was, I believe, a Jaguar driver and the Mercedes driver collided. And then the Mercedes car, flew into the crowd, killed a bunch of people, injured a bunch of people.
I was going to say, I think we have how many people that were
200?
So, no, 83
injured.
Spectators were killed and one driver. And then almost 200 people in the crowd were injured from the vehicle flying up into the stands.
Right.
But would you say that that's Mercedes' fault or the lack of, I guess, safety features of keeping the crowd safe?
You know what I mean? And you can go online and see photos from this. Mm-hmm. And it looks like a war scene. It really does. Because there's pieces of the car on fire, people running around screaming, whatever. But back then they didn't have barriers or any kind of barricades or anything to protect the crowd.
Yeah.
And so it was things like this. I mean, this was a big one, but things like that happened
regularly. Yeah.
It's really kind of sad and crazy to think about. But so after that whole deal, because their driver died in the crash, Again, like all these people got injured, all these people were killed, and it was a horrible.
It's a big thing. It was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
It was like a shock to motorsports,
right?
Probably.
Yeah. And so after that, they said we are pulling out of all motorsports. I can't talk.
Just for the season, or
no? They pulled out of all motorsports until. When did they return back?
I think
so. They
94.
didn't return back until 94, and they only returned initially as a motor supplier.
Oh, wow.
As an engine supplier.
So that's like over like 30 years. That's like 30 years.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So they were like, we're not going to be doing this. It's too dangerous. It was not the like look that they wanted, I guess. I mean, obviously nobody wants that look.
Well, yeah.
It's not a good look.
Also, like, maybe it gave them a chance to start to really figure out, like, how can we
compete and have it be, like,
safe and
yeah.
Exactly.
Right. So they joined back in 1994 as an engine supplier for a team called Ilmore. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Anyways. And then after that, they started providing more engines to different teams. So they were an engine provider for McLaren. They provided engines for, I think, Williams even back then. Mm-hmm. So they started doing a little bit of that. Okay. And then kind of getting their feet, I guess, back wet in motorsports. Right.
But not like actually, I guess, competing.
They were just competing.
They were just like an equipment supplier.
Yeah, they were just the engine supplier. But McLaren had won some championships with their engines, with the Mercedes engines.
Does McLaren still have their engine?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So present day, it's McLaren and Aston Martin that have.
You're saying 2023 it's going to be.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And they were in Williams, but they're not going to be in this next year.
Which is kind of crazy to me. I feel like there's something going on.
Relationship.
Yeah.
And the fact that they didn't hire Susie.
And maybe it's all making sense. Like,
maybe
they didn't. Like,
Mercedes was like, we're not giving you our engine.
But maybe, like, they're moving away from each other. You never know. Yeah. Like, maybe now Williams is trying to, like, team up with Alpine or Alpine.
Yeah, because they're getting the Renault engine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe Williams is just trying to figure something out because they're just clearly struggling.
I think that's part of it. I mean, I think there's something deeper there because I always like root for something to be deeper there. But I think that's a lot of the reason why is just like we've been doing this for so long and like we've had these lackluster results. Like, let's try something different. Why not?
Kind of like Red Bull when they made the switch over to Honda.
Right. So just to try something different and see what happens.
Well, that will be interesting this year.
Yeah. So in 2010, they decided to join back fully as their own team, and they bought the Braun GP team.
Did they take over a team? Did someone leave? Like, yeah. Okay.
So they bought out this team called Braun GP.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, you're fine. And they. Like, I think when they did that, they took all of their employees and, like, kind of just, like, turned it into, like, now we're Mercedes.
Gotcha.
Situation.
Because I was wondering about that because of all the groups that have been trying to get, like, another F1 team. So I was like,
hard.
Did they expand the grid at that point? Or was it, like, did they take somebody over? You know?
Yeah. They took someone over. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's, like, it's so hard to get them to add, like, a whole nother team. It's really, you have to wait for that.
And I feel like you need to add 2.
Yeah, because then I don't like it. I don't like it when it's like 11. I don't like that odd number.
Yeah.
Even though it's still an even number with the drivers because you're going to have 22 versus 20. But like, no. My type A is like, no.
Your OCD is like,
I don't like
absolutely
it.
not.
No, it needs to be an even number. But okay, so they re-entered back in 2010 as a team. And then they were, building themselves up and kind of figuring out what was going on. But whenever they re-entered, Michael Schumacher had come out of retirement.
Which is Mick's
dad.
Okay.
Yeah, to drive for them.
Okay, because remember we were talking about Mick's uncle last episode. So,
Ralph.
Yeah.
The T speller, Ralph.
Oh, yeah. Kind of, he can be coined Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh my God, that's good. I like it. Okay, so they didn't really have any super great results those first few years as a team. I mean, it was a new team, so like they're trying to figure it out, do all their stuff. And then in 2014, whenever the regulations changed to where it was going to be like a hybrid engine for all of the cars, they just immediately like figured out whatever that setup was.
But I think it makes sense because if you look at their cars just in general, like the
like an actual like a road Mercedes,
they, I feel like, were one of the beginning companies, like them and BMW and stuff like that, that really just like took off with how do I figure out of making hybrid vehicles, like
and like
electric,
just being innovative and trying different things. So no, I think they have. I mean, with it being Mercedes, like that's such a like good name, and it's such a like storied, you know, whatever brand.
Oh yeah,
that like they have like the best engineers and the best people working for them, and so no, it's not surprising that they just immediately came out of the gate and were like, we know what we're doing now.
And at the same time, I feel like they've had 30 years of being able to test and research without like so many rules. Like I guarantee you there was like a huge R&D facility or group behind the scene all these years trying to, you know, how do we get back into motorsports? And when we do, and when we do, like, how do we come out on top?
Right.
You know?
And perform like a Mercedes like that, you know? Like, it's just like a strong name, I feel like.
I don't know. I feel like Aston Martin is like stronger to me in that sense.
Well, cause
maybe also it's sexier.
It's just the Aston Martin paired with the James Bond vibes, like, I kind of love that.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't know, Mercedes to me is just like the Royals.
Yeah. I feel like it's more current.
Yeah.
It's more of like a current brand.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's dominated. Like during that whole time period, they had brought over Lewis, who had been at McLaren.
Well, because remember we talked about in the previous episode, we think he just jumped ship after all the drama.
Situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, so then he was there. They had Nico Rosberg, and they were like just dominating. I mean, they won, I think it was like between 2014 and like 2018, they won every single. Well, actually, this year currently ended their streak of winning those there was 8.
Oh yeah,
it was 8 years, right? Where they had just won every year until this year, obviously with Red Bull winning, and them kind of falling back with all their porpoising and all of their issues and different things. But they pretty much have been dominating this past like decade, essentially. But okay, so the team is owned by the Mercedes-Benz Group. There's 1/3. They own 1/3. Then the company Ineos owns 1/3. And then Toto Wolff owns 1/3.
Which, was crazy to me.
Yeah. I'm like,
Toto.
I knew Toto was like, I mean, a huge part of the team.
Yeah.
But I was like, Toto?
I mean,
really?
He's getting like
he had all this money.
He's getting Daddy Stroll vibes now.
I know. Well, and I almost like, I feel like, should we call him Daddy Toto?
No, I do not.
I think we should call him Daddy Toto.
No way. I feel like Daddy Stroll comes off like arrogant, but Toto doesn't come off arrogant.
He doesn't come off arrogant. Well, and that's like perfect example. He doesn't come off arrogant to the point where I was like, oh my God, like you're like a billionaire? Like I think that's a compliment.
Oh, absolutely. You know.
Like, like I was like, okay, you could tell he really cares about the team and like,
he's investing his own money.
Yeah. And like, I did not know that.
So question, where did he get all his money?
Right. So before he was involved with Mercedes, before he was involved with F1, he, was like an investment person, and like he was into banking and he had different companies. There was a company, he founded these 2 different companies. One was March 15 and March 16, I think. I have it written down. Hold on.
Well, sorry.
Okay, here we go. He founded investment companies March 15 and March 16, and they were mainly investing in like internet and technology type things.
Oh, so smart.
Yeah, and so he made all this money
It's like
on
Steve
that.
Jobs.
Right. And like he had the interest in motorsports, and I think he had been like when he was younger, like into karting or doing some kind of driving, race car driving, and then he went in to do all his business stuff. And then once he started to get all this money, he was like, I want to invest in motorsports. Like that's where my like interests are. That's what I want to do. So he actually invested in Williams first and was part of like he put a bunch of money into the Williams team. I think back in like 2009, he purchased a portion of the team.
Okay, of Williams. Okay, back when what's her name's dad was probably the owner.
Claire. Yeah.
Claire's dad.
Right. So he purchased a portion of the team and he was involved with them for several years until he joined Mercedes. And then he still owned part of Williams. But whenever that Dorilton company came in.
Yeah, like when the Williams family actually finally sold.
Right. So this Dorilton came in. And they forced him to sell off the remaining like shares that he had because they wanted to be the owner.
Majority owner or whatever.
Right. So I think as of like 2020, he doesn't own any shares in that Williams team.
Okay. Anymore. But he owns 1/3 of Mercedes.
But yes, he owns
not of Mercedes-Benz, of the F1 team. Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
Right. And then I think it's interesting too. So Mercedes-Benz owns 1/3, Toto owns 1/3, and then Ineos, that other company, owns 1/3. And like you see the Ineos on their car.
You do.
But it's not like, to me, I'm like, if I own 1/3 of this company, like that team is going to be called Ineos Mercedes, like Mercedes Ineos F1 team, because they're the Petronas Mercedes. Officially, it's like Mercedes, Petronas, AMG.
Yes.
F1. Like, it's like the longest name.
It's still better than MoneyGram Haas.
She's still mad about MoneyGram
Still salty. Terrible name.
Yeah. But so, and even like the drivers and like, do you remember on Drive to Survive whenever they were like giving their first introductions of like, I'm Toto Wolff and I'm the team principal of the Mercedes AMG, whatever. Yeah. And they all kept on getting it wrong because there's so many different names that are like part of that like official name.
Yeah.
But it's really, so Petronas is like their title sponsor.
Yeah.
And it has the little avocado logo.
I've never noticed the avocado.
Well, I did. Because I would. But it's actually like a Malaysian like oil company.
Well, yeah, I knew
they're all oil companies.
I was gonna say I knew it was an oil company, but I didn't know like what does the avocado have to do?
I don't know, and that's what I have no idea. I guess maybe whoever runs it was like, I like avocados.
Or let's be like green, we're an oil and gas company, but let's try to like save the earth.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think that's the part of the branding. They're just like avocados. Everyone likes avocados.
Especially a dancing one.
Like, what are you going to put on there? Like an oil can? Like, you know?
I don't know.
No.
Hello, this is Editing Alex here. I looked into why Petronas has an avocado as their logo, and I was shocked to find out that it's actually not an avocado. It looks like one to me, for sure, but officially, the company states that their logo represents metaphoric and alpha-glyphic nuances of an oil drop. So it's not an avocado. It's supposed to be an oil drop. I am shook. Anyways, that's it. Thank you. Bye.
That's hilarious.
Okay.
So they've extended, though, their partnership to
2026.
Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like they've been Petronas, like Mercedes Petronas or whatever, since they
came back in 2010.
Yeah. Like they've always had that relationship. So whenever Ineos came in and bought a portion, I think they were already like, hey, like we've got Petronas going on. Like,
yeah. And
you can be a part owner. We're going to put you on this thing right here. But
also at the same time, maybe Ineos is making so much money just from being part owner that they're like,
they're fine with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Toto. He also, okay, so he joined Mercedes in 2013 as their director, and then eventually came to be like part owner, principal, all this stuff, and so now
and
he's
CEO.
Like, yeah, so he's like everything for them.
Kind of reminds me of McLaren's. Well, he's now
Zach Brown.
Yeah, his CEO.
Yeah.
But remember, like at one point, he was like CEO, principal, like kind of like the whole shebang. All these
hats. Yes. Yeah, he was like the guy
and like the face of it,
right?
Because to me, Toto is the face of Mercedes.
Yeah. Like, and you see Toto, and he gives you like these like almost like a Bond villain.
Yes.
Vibe.
Yes.
And then especially his accent, he gets on the microphone and he's like, "Hello, I'm Toto Wolff, the team principal of the..." I can't do accents.
That was great.
But like, I kind of love that vibe that he gives off of like...
But okay, so he gives off villain vibes, but at the same time, I feel like he gives off like good guy vibes.
It's like almost like...
He's like the sneaky villain. Like you would never expect him to be the villain, but he actually is the villain. Is.
So it almost gives me like a Batman type vibe. Like, you know, Batman like by day is like
a news,
right?
Wasn't he like a reporter?
Yeah.
And then by night
he like dons his little cape and he's like, "I'm gonna go save the city."
Yeah. Oh my god, that's a good
It's a good analogy. Like Batman.
Just like he's gonna like in his mind, he's like, "I'm gonna go dominate." You know,
right? Like he's like, "I'm gonna go put my little suit on, my little outfit that he always wears."
Oh yeah, his little like sweater. Which, by the way, I've tried to wrap my sweater like that.
It doesn't stay.
And it doesn't look nearly as good as how it looks on him.
See, I can't pull that off.
No.
Like no, I can't do it. But I have tried to put like a jacket on without like. Do you see like all the cool girls are putting like their jacket over their shoulders and they're not putting their arms in the armholes?
Oh, I've done that many times.
It won't stay on me. It falls off.
Yeah, I mean, I can't be like running around doing things, but if I'm just standing
I will
there,
literally be sitting and it like doesn't stay.
I don't know. Then maybe we can. Well, I was about to say maybe we can get like the double-sided tape, stick it in there, and stick it.
Maybe that's what he does with his sweater.
Maybe. We need to research this.
Yeah, we need to find out. We need to get into the paddock and like track him down.
Well, we can track him.
Pull his sweater off.
Yeah, but him and we can ask Nick.
Yeah,
because remember they were
Nick
like
knows.
matching. Yeah, he knows how to pull it off.
He was pulling that fit off just as good as Toto was.
He was.
Oh my gosh. I know, it's crazy.
Okay, so back to Toto.
Okay, so
he's CEO, team principal,
right.
1/3 owner.
Right.
I mean,
he's doing all these things. And then on top of that, so him and Mika Hakkinen, who was an F1 driver,
yes,
they co-own this like driver management team.
Oh, that makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
With Esty.
Yeah. So like they've had Esteban in the past, like under their management team.
I'm sure Nick was part of
that. Even Valtteri, like he was managed by them.
Because I remember like when he decided to leave the team, like
and
remember
Toto, like fully helped him like
figure it out. Where's he going to go? What's the best move for him? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so he also does that, and then I'm sure he has a ton of other people that we don't even know about that are like on his roster of like people that he's managing.
Mm-hmm.
But he's really, which I think is great because like he's so like knowledgeable, and we talked about it in another episode. I can't remember what episode that was, where he just seems like this like nurturing,
like fatherly.
Yeah,
he comes in like. I want to help you. I want to build like this for you.
Right.
You know, I'm sure Toto benefits from it, but at the same time, it seems like the drivers benefit more than Toto has, you know?
Yeah. And I think, you know, he takes his cut or whatever it is, but I think he does it because he like 100% enjoys it and like is really genuine about that.
Well, he has a passion.
Yeah,
his passion is F1
for helping people. He has a passion
in developing these drivers.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So what else is going on with him? Oh, he's married to the most fabulous woman. Mm-hmm. We're real big Susie fans.
We're huge Susie fans.
Which, man, I'm so bummed to see that Alfa Romeo.
I know. And I couldn't even tell you right now what that guy's name is. I don't care. All I know is that it's not Susie Wolff, and I'm mad.
I was more mad when Williams didn't announce her.
Yeah, I really thought that was like
I did
a
too.
slam dunk.
Yeah, and I thought it was a good fit, especially now knowing that Toto came from Williams. Like,
Right.
why not? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a good stepping stone to get into F1.
I know.
But maybe
Such a
she doesn't
shame.
want to do that because they do have a son. So
Yeah.
maybe she like enjoys spending time with him,
I'm sure
but then
she does.
kind of her like role in Mercedes.
Right.
You know, because she has a role in Mercedes, right?
Oh yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but she's part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
She's
not just like a wag.
Yeah. No, she does not. No, she's not just doing wag vibes.
Yeah,
she's like doing something.
Doing something.
I don't know what it is. Maybe we'll have to fill that in because I didn't research that, but I meant to. I really did.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Hello, this is Editing Alex again. So I looked into what Susie Wolff's role was at Mercedes, or if she even had a role with them, and she is actually an ambassador for them. She works on the She's Mercedes campaign, which is a networking platform dedicated to inspiring, connecting, and empowering women to be their best. So she does have a role with them as a brand ambassador. And it's awesome. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Hilarious.
Okay, so interesting story that I read about him. So in 2021, he was investigated for insider trading. Toto.
What?
Yes. Drama.
Oh.
I always find the drama.
Oh, you do? I mean, man.
So he had...
Did he go to jail?
No. He was acquitted of everything. Okay. No wrongdoing found, but I'm like, it's kind of sus.
Or he just had a good lawyer.
He definitely, I'm sure, had a great lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, so he had, like, whenever, he was investing in Williams, he's, like, invested in all this other stuff, he decided to invest into Aston Martin, their F1 team, like the Aston Martin team.
Oh, wow.
And they, like, to me, I'm like, how is this even, like, just personally, he was like, I'm going to go invest in that. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as he, like, bought some shares or did whatever he did, it grew, like, his shares grew by, like, over 70%, like, the next week or something like that. Like, he got this huge return. And so at that point, that's when it kind of, like, I don't know, tipped off somebody.
Yeah, maybe raise some red flags.
Right. Of
your
like,
growth
okay,
so
well,
quickly.
hold on.
Yeah.
Like,
what are you doing?
Yeah. And remember, they have the relationship with Aston Martin where they're their engine supplier. Like, Mercedes is the engine supplier for Aston. Mm-hmm. And obviously Toto and Daddy Stroll, like, know each other.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, brings that question of like, well, did he tell you something that then caused you to go make this investment?
Yeah.
And then now you're getting all of this growth and like return from that, like literally almost immediately.
Well, yeah, like something changed, but you may have known it before.
Right. You might have known that this was like coming down the pipe, which if I'm on that jury and as much as if I didn't know Toto, whatever, just being told the story, let's just change the people. Like, if it was somebody different, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but
you're guilty.
Yeah, but at the same time, unless you have like hard, concrete evidence
of like an email,
or like a phone call or a text message,
that's hard.
It's hard to prove.
It's hard to prove.
Exactly.
But so, anyways, he was acquitted. I think at the very least, there's like a conflict of interest there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, does it bother me? No. I'm like, I like Toto, so it's fine. I'll forgive him for that.
It's not like there wasn't any money out of your pocket.
Right.
So you don't care.
No one took my money. I'm fine.
Oh, Alex.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so anyway, Toto's great. I think he's a good like leader. I think he's one of the best team principals.
I would agree.
I mean, if I could create a like we were talking about that before in another episode, like a fantasy team and like you had to pick a principal.
Oh yeah, I'd pick Toto.
I would pick Toto hands down. I think he's a good leader. I think
if I could do that, I would have Toto as principal, Red Bull's strategist.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God, yes.
Yeah. And
Hannah
then,
Schmitz.
yeah. And then who's engineer? Ugh, I would have to think
I don't
on
know enough about the engineering side to, like,
I know,
make an
but
informed decision on that.
yeah. I'll have to think on that.
Yeah. We should do that. We should make, like, a little, like, this is my dream team.
Yeah. We could do it.
Yeah, okay. I feel like it would be the same
Speaking of
team.
dream teams,
Yeah.
then let's move into who are the drivers.
Oh my God, the segue, Courtney.
Because, well, would Lewis or George? See, you can't talk now. I can't talk.
I know.
Okay, would Lewis or George be one of your drivers on your dream team?
I think so.
I don't know.
I think so.
I think I would have Checo and Charles.
See, I don't. I like Checo, but I don't think I'd go there.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a good push. Like they would push each other. But
yeah, and he is a really good team player.
Yeah.
That is true.
Anyways, okay. So who do you want to start with?
Let's start with Lewis.
Okay.
The GOAT.
The GOAT.
The Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Is that like actually his legal name?
He was knighted.
By who?
By
the Queen?
No, well, it was Prince Charles before he was king, right? But he got knighted in 2021.
For what?
I don't know, for being an exceptional British person. What are you get knighted for?
I don't know. That's why I was asking. I was like,
no, I did.
Is it like you have to do so much in public service? Like what?
So I read that like apparently the Queen would have like every year, like she had like a list of like people that she was just gonna bestow the knighting like gift on.
Well, I wonder if it's kind of similar to in the US, what's that one award each president gives to like,
is it like a Medal of Honor?
Yeah, the Presidential Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's kind of similar.
Yeah. They just pick like somebody. And
I'm sure it's because
there was like a
things.
List of people. So whenever this happened, it was around like New Year's Day of 2021, and it's like a ceremony, and like they all show up and they get like knighted. Like it's kind of weird.
You need to post a picture of this. Yeah, I'm just like imagining a sword being like
that was
Sir
like that
Lewis
is literally
Hamilton.
what happened. And it was like the picture I saw on the internet was Prince Charles and Lewis Hamilton's like literally kneeling, like you just said.
Oh,
and he's doing the thing. Like that's what really happens.
Okay, so
there will be a picture in the visual aids.
Okay, so Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Okay, is the GOAT.
I mean, a lot of people call him the GOAT, but it's kind of like, you know, everyone has their opinions.
Oh, yeah.
Of like...
It's like Tom Brady. Some people think he's the GOAT, some people don't.
But like, if you look at his records, so, okay, he's tied for the most titles ever, Drivers' Championships titles, with Schumacher.
Okay.
But then Lewis has the most wins, 103.
Okay.
And the most pole positions, also 103. And then the most podium finishes, 191.
Okay. But I do think that Charles is coming for Lewis.
He's coming
in the polls.
In the polls, yeah.
Yeah. That's honestly.
We'll talk about Charles.
I know. We'll get to it. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of people, like, that's actually the one person
that could challenge him on that.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, he's Mr. Saturday. Does great.
He does.
Okay, so he is a 38-year-old British driver.
Okay. He's got to be one of the older ones on the grid then.
Yeah. So
except for, what's his name coming back?
Hulkenberg?
Yes.
I think he's 35, I think. Okay. 35, 36.
But he's on
the older end of the spectrum of people. But yeah, I think Alonso is probably the only one that's older than him.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, okay, so Lewis, he's a 7-time world champion, and this is going to be his 17th season in F1.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. That's like so long, 17 years.
And I think consecutive years.
Oh yeah, definitely consecutive, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So, okay, and we already said like all of his different career accolades and all of that. So every year he's been in F1, he's won at least one race each season, except for this past year.
I know.
And then, like, to me...
That's got to be so hard for him, though.
But, and so he kept on, like, because people, like, towards the end of the season, especially when it was like, okay, like, you haven't won yet. Like, there's only 3 more races, 2 more races. Like, if you don't win this race, like, this record's going to go down the drain. And he was like, oh, I'm not worried about that. Like, it doesn't bother me. I'm like,
oh, that
it bothers me. Like, I would be up at night.
Well, I think that's what would drive me.
Yeah.
Like, I have to do better because, like, what's going on?
That would drive me insane.
Or the question is he on the backside of his career now? Like, is he starting the downhill?
Right.
And that would be hard.
So, to that point, so, like, he has every year that he's been in F1, except for this past year, and then the year that Nico Rosberg won the championship, I think it was 2016, every other season, he's outperformed his teammate, except for those 2 times.
Gosh.
So, yeah, and, like, now George, which we'll talk about George, but, you know, he's, like, essentially the future of that team, because, like, Lewis is not going to be around forever.
Yeah, except for Mercedes did come out, and didn't they say that, like, they're committed to Lewis for
Several
like another
years.
5 years or something like that.
But so they haven't signed that dotted line, though. So we'll see. I think Lewis really wants to win that 8th championship so that he can, like, officially be the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And, like, have the most championship wins.
Yeah, but he's got a lot to overcome.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't know, I feel like he's going to take this year, see what happens, like, if the car has improved over what it was last year, and, like, he feels like he can do something with them, maybe he'll stay.
Yeah.
But I think he's getting to the point where he's like, okay. Like, I mean, 17 years.
No, I agree.
And he's 38 years old. I mean, that's, like, a huge chunk of your life, like, committed to something.
But then it's also, like, the flip side of, what are you going to do afterwards?
Oh, he's got plenty of stuff to do.
Please don't tell me he gets into fashion.
Oh, he's going to. He's a fashionista.
Oh, gosh. Every time I think of him, I think of that ridiculous Bane crochet mask that he wore.
That's going to be on the visual aids.
It was so bad.
It was so bad. And, like, I'm trying to think back what race that was, but, like, was it even cold there?
No, I want to say it was Great Britain.
Was it?
I think it was
the Silverstone race?
Yeah.
Oh my god. You might be right. I have no idea.
Us.
Yeah,
we'll need check. Editing with Alex.
Yes. We'll check into that. But
editing Alex here again. So officially, it was at the Belgian Grand Prix where he wore this, and it is stated to be a pink knitted balaclava, which a balaclava is what they put on, the drivers do whenever they get in the car underneath their helmets to protect their head and face if they were to get into a crash. So I think it was just like a play on that kind of driver chic fashion, and it had little daisies knitted onto it. A lot of people on the internet were saying it looked like their grandmother's tea cozy. So that's that. Okay, thanks. Bye.
But and that will definitely be on the visual aids. It was offensive. That thing was...
It was aggressive.
Yeah, it was a look. Choices were made.
I mean, and I know, wasn't it like something about like people not having a voice? And I think
was he trying to make a statement?
I think he was trying to make a statement. You can fact check me again on that.
I think you're probably right. So
I think something had happened, and I really do think he was trying to make a statement.
Okay, and that makes sense because he loves to make a statement.
He is. He's very political, and he like
very outspoken.
Yes. Versus many of the other drivers.
Oh, they're just like I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah. Kind of like it reminds me of Taylor Swift for the longest time. Like Swift, she was like, anything. I'm not going to say anything. Like, no one needs to know my views. I'm allowed to vote. It's my privilege to vote.
Yeah.
But then finally, I think it just something flipped, and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna
go make a statement.
Exactly.
So, and I wanted to talk about that with him. especially with this FIA ban on all the drivers. Like, well, they've banned any drivers or anybody in the sport from doing any kind of political statements.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you didn't know. So
when?
They did that, like, at the beginning of the winter break. They came out with this announcement saying, like, starting this season, like, there will not be any, like, you know how they would do, like, the kind of the LGBTQ, rainbow stuff. Like, they're not allowed to do that.
Or, like, kind of like the kneeling in football.
Right.
Like,
they are not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to do the Black Lives Matter. They're not allowed to make any kind of...
Which is interesting because Lewis has put that on his helmet.
I know.
And stuff, hasn't he?
And so that's the interesting thing, because, like, a lot of the drivers have put statements like that on their helmets. They've made decals on cars.
Yeah.
They make these, like, they'll wear shirts that say certain things. Even, like, when Seb would come around and things, like, about the environment and stuff like that. Like, I don't even think they're allowed to do those kinds of statements.
Wow.
Yeah, so they basically have, like, told them they're not allowed to do any kind of political statements.
What happens if you do?
So they have to get written permission from the FIA before they go ahead and make a political statement. They have to get written approval.
So maybe they can put Black Lives Matter, but they have to have approval from the FIA.
Right. And so, like, there really hasn't been, like, so that announcement came out. I thought we were going to get, especially from, like, a Lewis, like, a ton of, this is ridiculous, I don't agree with this, we have a platform. Because that was I thought he was going to come out and say that, and then nothing.
But that's what makes me think, I wonder if they're allowed to do it. It's just that the FIA
have to get the
wants
approval.
to vet it before
they go ahead and do it.
Exactly.
So I think, too, like, since, like, this is a new thing, they haven't really seen, like, how strict they're going to be on it. Like, I think maybe they're waiting to, let's say, the first race. And,
see how it plays out.
Yeah, and somebody wants to make XYZ political statement, and then they turn in that, like, until they get, like, a response from one of those requests, I don't think that we're going to really, like, hear anything. Because they might just, like you said, like, just want it so that they're prepared. They know what's coming.
Yep.
And then they're going to sign off on it and whatever, and it's going to be fine, and it's, like, not really that big of a deal. Or they might sit there and say, I think if they come back and say, like,
take this, only say this,
you can't do that, or, like, just flat out, like, no, you're not going to do that, I think that's when we'll hear more from it, like, from the drivers and from the teams.
Yeah.
You know, with their thoughts on that. But I think a huge part of the reason why the FIA is, like, putting that in place is because a ton of these countries that they're racing in
are very strict.
They're very strict.
Like China.
Yeah. Like, they don't want to see those types of political statements. They don't agree with it, and they just would rather it not be there. So, like,
or their country is very opposed to that. Like, you get in the Middle East, right?
Right, exactly.
There's a ton of, like, I think it's almost comes off, like, offensive or disrespectful into the country.
To their country, their cultures, their laws.
Their
laws, a lot of places.
Exactly.
So, like, think about the World Cup.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Like, all of that
They weren't
drama.
allowed to do any, like, LGBTQ. People that were showing up to the games, like, wearing rainbow printed shirts, like, weren't they not allowed to, like, go and stuff? Like, or, it was, like, a huge thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of these countries, like, they have those rules.
But then again, I find that so difficult also. Like, at what point do you draw the line of, like, freedom of speech and freedom of, like, your opinion and your, like, your lifestyle choices, right? Like, how can, but again, you also, it's like, this is your job.
Yeah.
Just like my company has rules on, like, color of hair and things like whatnot, right?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. True. And then, too, like, freedom of speech is, like, an American thing.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Not all countries abide by that.
That is very true.
So it kind of, I'm like, as much as I'm like, I don't they can make whatever statement they want to make. It's not like I don't get offended. It's fine. Like, make that statement. I think they have a platform. There's tons of people that watch. There's tons of people that they influence by doing certain things. But like, to me, I don't know. You kind of have to think about what are the rules of wherever you're at. Like, not everyone abides by those things.
Yeah. And that's what I wonder if the FIA is just drawing a line. Like, we're just not going to, like, they're not going to play with that fire.
Yeah,
and
I think they are because, like, again, like, all those countries that they're racing in that are providing huge amounts of money for the sport.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Saudi,
you don't want to
Qatar,
make them mad.
like, all of that.
You can't piss those people off. It's like too much.
You can money. Do a little bit.
Right.
I think you can push, but you can push. There's a line, right?
Right.
And you just have to make sure you don't cross the line.
Right.
You can push the boundaries, but you know, within reason.
Yeah. Like, the last thing they want though is for one of those countries to sit there and say, like, okay, you're allowing this to happen. Like, you're not going to race in our country anymore. Like, we're canceling.
But on the flip side, the country doesn't want to cancel it because think how much money.
I know.
You know. That's why, like,
power struggle.
Well, I know, and I think that's why, like, we think about China. China was so upset with not having a race because I think they know, like, how much money they're losing out on,
right,
by not having.
And they were even,
which has that been announced yet?
Yeah, so they canceled it
officially. Man,
and they're not going to replace it.
Wow,
they're not going to replace it with anything.
For this year.
Year.
They'll reevaluate it.
Right. They'll probably stick something in there, or maybe they go back to China. I don't know. But so now, like, in April, it's pretty much like we have like a spring break.
And then we're going to have a summer
races.
break.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's literally, I think, like 3 or 4 weeks where there's not a race because that was the Chinese Grand Prix was supposed to be like stuck in there.
Yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, so
we'll see what happens. I am interested to see, like, Lewis's stance.
I know.
On
I
it
feel
this
like
year.
if anyone's going to make a stance,
it's going to be him.
It's going to be Lewis.
Oh, absolutely, because he's a whiny baby.
Oh,
he is.
I think he's passionate about his opinion.
No, he is a whiny baby. Like. Segueing into George. When George does well, like, I think about that one race where George was like, hey, I want to pit, I want to switch to the softs or something like that, right? And it was like, they could have double stacked them, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, Mercedes is like, yeah, let's do it. And then then Lewis comes in and they don't pit him. I think they were pushing everyone through the pit lane, if I remember correctly. Because I think there was, like, a red flag or something like that on...
Right. And so, like, while he was driving by, he's like, give me tires.
Yeah. And so he, like, pits, does it. And then Hamilton, they don't make the decision for it. And then Hamilton, like, I think ended back, like, 3 places because everyone else pitted.
Right.
And he was so pissed about that. And I'm just like, well, it wasn't the team's decision, actually. You know, George asked for it.
Was that the time that he got on, like, Lewis got on the radio and he, like, it was very uncharacteristic of him to, like...
he called Mercedes out. He was like, this is bullshit. Pretty much. And, like, how can you do this to me?
Right.
Like,
and then after, like, because he's not, like, he just gives off to me, like, Lewis, like, kind of like yoga instructor, like, namaste, #blessed vibes. Like, he's very, like, no, everything's gonna be great.
No,
like,
he's arrogant. And that is not namaste. That is arrogance, Alex.
But so he gives off to me like a very like peaceful vibe. And in that moment that you're talking about, like, he was very like angry, and I was like,
And he wasn't just angry at, like, the situation. He was like
full on mad
at Mercedes.
And I don't think I had ever heard him like be mad like that.
Okay, so what you need to do, you need to edit and put the clip of
his radio.
Yeah, because it was like,
I can't believe you guys, man. I can't tell you. He feels he's been put in a position, Jensen Button, where he is not.
It was like...
I do remember that. Remember that. It was a spicy radio. And then, but after the race, he was like, after he had a moment to, like, calm down.
Yeah.
I think he was like, you know, I want to apologize to my whole team. Like, I shouldn't have said that. It was like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And he, like, fully apologized for the whole thing because I don't think the vibe that he's trying to give off. Like,
I mean, he may not, but I'm just telling you, I think it's arrogant.
yeah.
Just like, who was it? Alonso. Somebody was like, Hamilton was in the middle of the pack, and they were like, oh, he doesn't know how to drive.
It was
unless,
Alonso.
Yeah, unless he was in first.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
first
Unless he's leading the race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he only knows how to drive from first place.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, gosh. Okay.
Okay.
So
he's, won 7 championships. Okay. Whenever a driver wins a championship, they can choose to change from their number to the number 1. And he has never, he's always kept his number 44. So he's won all those different championships and he never changed to number 1.
Max changed,
Oh,
right?
Max was like, rip this 33 off. We're done. I'm number 1. Max was over there buying himself his golden little shoes. Have you noticed that?
No.
His race shoes are gold.
Now
he's
thinking about
the
it,
winner.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
But anyway, so Lewis.
So every year, though,
You're fine.
Every year, whoever
wins.
So you potentially have to give that up. You could have it for a year, and then you have to give it up.
Right. Yeah. So if
that would suck, because what if someone else took your other number?
No. So I think you can still I think that so let's say Max doesn't win next year.
Okay.
And he can't be number 1 because whoever wins decides they want to do number 1.
What if they decide they don't? Does Max get to keep one?
I don't think so.
He has to go
I
back.
think that's the number 1 is reserved for the previous year's winner.
Whether they use it or not.
Okay. Yeah. So all of those years where he decided he wasn't going to do that, that span of time has really been the only time that there was not a number 1
on the grid
because he was like, no, I'm keeping my 44.
Which I think is kind of cool.
I like that.
I think he's arrogant, but at the same time, that does not scream arrogance to me.
Yeah.
That screams
humble.
Oh, yeah, and a drive. It makes you want to drive more,
right?
Forward and do better because
you're not just to me. The vibe that Max gives off, he immediately changed his number. He put on his little golden racing shoes. I'm like, oh, you're just entitled. It gives an entitled vibe of I'm the champion, I'm the winner. Mm-hmm. And Lewis is not doing that.
No, but he's arrogant in other ways to me.
Courtney cannot get over the face thing. That thing.
But it's just the way he struts around sometimes too.
Yeah.
I'm just who are you?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you're amazing and all of that, but come on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Okay. So relationship status for him because we didn't talk about that. Okay. So he's single. We think, but he's kind of notoriously single at this point. He dated one of the Pussycat Dolls, Nicole Schwartz. I can never say her name. Scherzinger.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Okay, so they dated for a while, years ago, and then after he broke up with her, we haven't really seen a Lewis Hamilton girlfriend. He's showing up, he's by himself, independent. He's got his dog, Roscoe.
Oh, I like that name.
Yeah, Roscoe's so cute. And then, the dog has its own Instagram.
Better than Horse.
Horsey.
And
I think that was a cat. That's Alex Albon's cat.
Yeah. Sorry. Pet name still.
Okay,
that's a good one.
He has his dog. He's got Angela.
Oh, yes.
His trainer. Angela. But, other than that, he doesn't really have a girlfriend. He was recently seen with somebody. So Lewis went to Antarctica over the winter break.
That's cool.
Yeah. He went to Antarctica with Shaun White. Shaun White is dating Nina Dobrev, who used to be in the Vampire Diaries. Mm-hmm. And then there was a bunch of other people on this trip, a bunch of famous rich people, all chartered some boat, went to Antarctica, whatever. And there was Shaun White posted a video of himself jumping into the Antarctic waters that are obviously freezing. Yes.
Yeah.
And then as he's coming back on the boat, they get into this hot tub and the person doing the camera pans over and Lewis Hamilton's trying to fist bump Shaun White.
Yeah.
But Shaun White was not paying attention. So that's the first thing you notice. But then you're hold on. there was a girl sitting on Lewis Hamilton's lap.
Oh.
But you don't see her face. You get like her shoulder.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, so that was up. People on the internet freaked out. They were like, oh my God, who's with Lewis Hamilton? Like, what is going on? Then Shaun White actually took that video down, cut the last part of it out, and then reposted it. Because Lewis was probably like, bro, like you're blowing up my spot. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
No one's supposed to know about this. Well, then the internet, as it does, like, tracked down and found this Brazilian model who used to date Kanye West.
Oh, gosh.
And who was the other guy? Leto. I think it was Jared Leto. This girl used to date him, too.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, of course, gorgeous. I mean, whatever. She's a Brazilian model. She's great.
Yeah.
But so they tracked her down and they were like, this is who it is. Because she had some bikini that was like the same thing, whatever. Well, then that girl started posting on her Instagram like that she had been in Antarctica. And like the boat that she was on looked just like the boat that Lewis Hamilton was on. So I think he was, rendezvousing with this Brazilian model.
Yeah.
I don't think they're serious.
No, I don't either. And I think that's why he didn't want it posted.
Yeah. I think it's whatever, but a little spicy.
Yeah.
Little detail on him. But okay, so just moving in with George, but like, I'm interested to see what happens. Like we were talking about earlier when we first got into Lewis, like how this season kind of goes for him because George did outscore him last year.
And George did well.
And George did great. George was consistently like so solid.
Yeah.
And this is going to make you mad. So George gets paid literally like a fraction of what Lewis gets paid.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I'm like, if I'm George.
No, but George also hasn't proved himself yet. I mean, Lewis has been.
Yes.
No, but Lewis has been there 17 seasons.
I know. But like,
or not with Mercedes, but like, come on. Like,
whoever George's.
I think if George proves himself in the next 2 years, then he'll get a serious pay bump.
Right. Yeah. No, but if I'm George's agent, if I'm George, I'm telling my agent.
Oh, yeah.
You need to help. Like, we need a raise.
Yeah.
We need a raise, and by me getting a raise, that means you get a raise. So go to work.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so George Russell.
Okay.
He's a 24-year-old British driver.
Okay. That gives your husband vampire vibes.
Yes. And I would say, I mean, George gives me... I like George. Let me just start out by saying I'm a secret George fan.
I don't know. I just think he's too pretty boy for me.
I kind of like, okay, by the end of this, I feel like you're going to walk away and you're going to be a George fan.
Okay,
I'm going to call it right now.
Okay, let's see if Alex can change my
I'm going to convert Courtney.
Yeah, you're going to convert
to a George fan.
You'll never convert me to a Mercedes fan, though.
No, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to convert you to a George fan because George Russell is like, he's like dorky vibes. He's hall monitor vibes. He's narc. He can be narc vibes at certain times. He's the one that gets on the radio and he's like, such a like, cut the corner at turn 19 and then also turn 20 and whatever. And like, and he's tattling on people on the radio.
So does Max, though.
Max does the same thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like those things that he does like makes him unlikable. Mm-hmm. But there's certain things about him that I'm like, I can get behind.
Okay. Tell me what I can get behind.
So he finished in 2022 in 4th place. We talked about like he's super consistent. He was like for a really long run in there. Like I don't think he was finishing below 5th like for like half the season until he didn't finish the Silverstone race after that horrible crash. Mm-hmm. So first thing that I like about him, they had that run in, whatever. He probably could have gotten in his car and kept going because his car was not damaged that badly, but he jumped out of the car without a second thought.
That is true.
To his own safety and his own race, because if you leave your vehicle,
you're done.
You're done.
And I think he knew that, but at the same time,
he didn't care.
He didn't care. And he even said that, like, he said that, like, he was really upset with the stewards of like why they wouldn't let him keep racing.
Right.
And like, cause I remember in an interview, he jumps out, he goes over, checks on Joe and like, is like trying to figure out. And he was like, by the next thing he knows, his car's already being carted off. And he was like, what's going on? And they were like, well, you got out of your vehicle.
Yeah, right.
And he was like,
I'm checking on this guy to make sure he's literally okay. Well, and the crazy thing to me was like, how did they get the crane to go get George's car that quickly? Like, shouldn't have everyone's focus have been on Joe in that moment? Like, why is there a team of people
probably
even
multiple
like
teams?
I know, but like, it's wild to me.
True.
But that was the first, like, I don't want to say the first thing, but that was one of the things that kind of endeared me to him.
Yeah.
I was like, he is not, like, yes, he wants to go out and race and he's super competitive and all of this stuff, but he's like not going to just keep on driving after that happened. Mm-hmm. Like, he was like, no, I got to go check on him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't his teammate, like his different team. Anyways, I thought that was really like something nice that he had done. But okay, so this is going to be his 5th year in F1.
Mm-hmm. 3rd with Mercedes or 2nd? 2nd with Mercedes.
Right? Yeah, 2nd.
Okay.
Because he did 3 years with Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, so prior to joining F1, he won the F2 championship.
Okay.
In 2018. And then he had been on the Mercedes Young Driver program since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is like one of my favorite stories about him. So he pretty much was like trying to get on this Young Drivers program. His parents were like, and I don't want to say like his parents weren't supporting him, but his parents were like, it's costing a lot. Like, we need to get some help here. Kind of situation. And so George took it upon himself to email Toto Wolff himself.
Oh.
Emails him and is like, hi, like, I want to have a meeting with you because I want to be on the Mercedes Young Driver program.
Oh,
and Toto Wolff, being the nurturing, supportive guy that he is, agreed to this meeting. And so George shows up to their headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
He showed up in a suit and a tie. He was super dressed up. He was ready to go. And he had made a PowerPoint presentation.
No way.
Yes, to present to Toto about the reasons why he should be in their Young Drivers program. The nerdiness is like, I love it. I see it. She's warming up.
I don't know. That's a baby.
That's adorable.
For sure you got me on the Wreck-It in the UK. But this one,
he made a PowerPoint presentation.
That just is prepared.
Okay.
I expect that out of anybody. Preparation.
But okay, so Toto agrees, obviously, and then George ends up in the Young Drivers program.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes to F2, wins F2. Then he gets his seat at Williams. And so he's with the Williams team. He was at that point, and I don't know how this really worked out, but he was a driver on the Williams team, but was also one of the Mercedes reserve drivers.
Okay.
At the same time, which is kind of strange, but I get, but they had that relationship.
Well, but also at the same time, I feel like as long as you have one team has a reserve driver, then it was like that situation where Lewis was sick, right? And then George came up and didn't race for Williams that weekend. He raced for Mercedes. And then that's when, was it Nick or so-and-so got the chance in the Williams and beat Latifi?
I don't think it was Nick. I can't remember who it was that drove for George that weekend.
Gosh,
we're going to have to look into that one.
We talked about it on one of our other episodes, but like that was the whole, I feel like the nail in the coffin for
Latifi.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're thinking of
when
Albon had appendicitis and Nick came. But I can't remember because that, like, George did go and drive for Mercedes one weekend.
When Lewis had
COVID.
Yeah.
But I don't remember who
backfilled
him. But I am willing to bet that they did better than Latifi.
Probably.
Editing Alex here again, and I looked into who covered for George while he was covering for Lewis on this weekend, and it was Jack Aitken, who was the Williams reserve driver, and he actually did outbeat Latifi on this race because Latifi did not finish, and Jack Aitken finished in 16th place. Thank you. Bye.
We said we were done talking about Latifi
Well,
a couple
it's hard not to
episodes ago.
talk about Latifi and when
It's
we were talking
hard.
about Mercedes. Plus,
Yeah.
Latifi is Latifi. I mean, we still have the Latifi Award coming up.
Yes, coming up.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. But okay.
Okay, so sell me some more on George.
So that weekend he stood in for Lewis. He was actually he qualified second. Coming out of a Williams.
Yeah.
Where he was just like puttering along
just
all
like,
year.
do.
Yes, he qualified second behind Bottas, as Bottas was obviously still the driver.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the beginning of the race, he overtook Valtteri and led pretty much that whole entire race until like the last 20 or so laps when he went in to do a pit stop, and the team accidentally put on Bottas's tires, like two of Bottas's tires on either the front or the back, can't remember.
Yeah.
They put the wrong pair on. And so he went out and he was like, something's wrong. Like you could tell right away.
Yeah.
And so then they were like, oh my God, come back in. We put the wrong tire. So then he had to pit again.
And then at that point, you're probably down
tires.
7th, 8th.
Right. Well, so then he managed to get back up to where he was.
What?
Yes. He had so much like drive and persistence on this whole situation. But anyways, so he managed to get back up. Well, then he has a puncture.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was like, I'll include the picture in the little slides. But after that race, I mean, he was devastated. Because imagine that, like being in Williams, like back marker team coming up, and then he almost won.
He literally,
race.
yeah, that was not only podium, but like
had he not have had those issues,
and that would have been
won.
That would have been his first win in F1. Like,
yeah,
can you imagine being that close?
I know.
And then like
he was devastated.
Yeah,
I mean, as anybody would be. But anyway, so that I was like watching that, I was like, oh my God, like this kid is good. Like he has talent.
I'm not arguing if he's good or not.
Right.
I'm arguing if I'm just like
a fan or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. So this past year,
speaking of that, when was his first win? Does he have any wins?
Yes. So he won in Brazil this past year.
Okay.
Remember that race? So he won the sprint race. In Brazil, and it was like such a big deal because like he had never won, and he's like kind of the same but opposite reaction of when he had that almost win when he was backing up Lewis. Like he was so just like ecstatically happy and excited, obviously. So he won the sprint race, and then he was able to win the actual race,
which makes that must have been very salty because we were talking about Ferrari like being nervous that like Mercedes coming back.
Right.
I mean, Brazil's late in the season.
Yeah.
So
no,
to have them win
is like, oh boy, I'm getting a little bit stressed. But yeah, so he has his first win in Brazil, and that was actually his first pole too. Position. But I mean, basically throughout the whole year, he consistently was like in the top 5 of pretty much every race.
He was kind of like Lando to me, where he was silently good,
just like doing a good job.
Yeah, and just
not
like
complaining,
you said, consistent, not complaining,
just driving, doing what he needed to do. Again, he outscored Lewis by like 30 something points,
35.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. Over
that's like
Lewis.
A decent like amount.
Yeah. Okay. So the final thing I have to offer to you,
oh gosh,
on George is his girlfriend, Carmen. I am obsessed with I feel like someone on George's PR team like, they were dating. It was fine.
Yeah.
They were dating. They've been together for a while. But Carmen used to have, like, she was very private. She had her Instagram private.
Mm-hmm.
She, like, they didn't really post things together. Carmen is, like, a finance girl. Like, she literally has, like, a legit job.
Maybe now you got me. You didn't get me with, like, her being, like,
cute,
beautiful.
whatever.
Oh,
no, she is, like...
You got me with,
she's
in
professional.
Finance. A professional.
She's a finance girly. Like, she's going to conferences on different things. Like, she's posting about, like, her work life. And, like, she does, like mirror selfies in, like, her work bathroom. Like, she's at work.
That's okay.
She's in meetings.
I like this. Okay.
She's a real person, but then she, like, is so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And her fashion, like, she has a stylist.
Okay.
Because I was like, there's no way.
Well,
like,
I feel like they all do, to a degree.
Not all of them do. Because
not all
some
of them,
I'm
but, like,
ooh,
no,
girl.
but some of
wait till you get a stylist.
I would say, like, the bigger
right.
you know, like,
I think,
the main wags.
So I think whenever George and Carmen were dating and George was on Williams, she was like, I don't need a stylist. Like, I don't have time for that. Well, and again, because she's literally, like, she has, like, a profession. Like, she is working girl, going to all these things, doing stuff. And so whenever you would see her, like, she was kind of more plain, you know, whatever. Like, it wasn't anything. Well, now that he's at Mercedes, she's gotten a stylist, and her outfits, every single one is, like, a hit. Like, she does not miss. Her outfits are fantastic. Her hair is fantastic. I have a girl crush on her. I really do. She's so gorgeous. And I feel like his PR team was like, okay. And this is what's interesting to me. So, like, there's so much more fans that are female now.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think people, like, they started to realize, like, hold on, like,
there's a whole nother market you could totally tap into.
Yes, with the wags. And I think out of all of them, like, Carmen and George have done the best job of, like, marketing them as a couple to, like, get that female fanship or whatever, fandom. And, like, I think it's working for him. I think that Carmen makes him, like, 1,000,000% more likable.
Oh, yeah. Especially, like you said, her being a professional working woman.
Yeah.
I think that brings a whole nother element to it because, like, for me, I'm like, okay, you're a supermodel. Come on. Well, like, I can't connect to that.
Yeah.
But I can get behind, okay, you have a 9 to 5. You're working. Like, you're not just playing around.
She has a LinkedIn.
I'm sure almost all of them have LinkedIn.
No, because they're, like, models. Like,
no. I'm talking about George and, like, Lewis, and I guarantee you every driver has a LinkedIn. Probably.
Okay, so
I mean, they have businesses outside of F1.
That's true. I haven't looked them up on LinkedIn, but when I found out that Carmen was, like, a finance girly and, like, she was, like, working, I was like, does she have a like, is she really working? Does she have a LinkedIn? And I went to LinkedIn and I found her, and she, like, actively has a LinkedIn.
Okay. What's her, like, title?
Here we go.
So
Investor Relations Associate.
Okay.
And, like, she posts things on LinkedIn. She's liking people's posts. Like, she's, like, she's, like, super business. Look, she's got, like, a suit jacket on. She's business.
Oh, wow.
She means business.
Okay, I'll give it to you on this.
Yeah.
She interned with them.
Yeah.
She left for a little while, but then came back to the same company. Interesting.
Yeah. See?
She has a bachelor's degree.
She's a smart girl. She's into the finance.
Into the finance.
But, okay.
Okay.
So,
you sold me a little more.
I love her. I love them together. I think they're great. They also hang out a lot with, like, Alex and his girlfriend, Lily. They go on, like, I think they went on a trip together. Don't quote me on that. But, like, they're just sweet together. They're cute. I think they go well together. They look great together.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's great.
But yeah. So did I convert you?
maybe 1%.
Okay. Okay.
We're moving in the right direction.
Okay.
Not a full conversion.
We didn't go backwards.
Yeah. No. We've got 1% more likable.
Right.
On my likability scale for George Russell.
Okay.
I mean,
Fair.
he is like light years ahead of Lewis.
For you?
Yeah. But still not my cup of tea. Yeah. So, okay. Do we have anything else for Mercedes?
No, that's it for Mercedes. I guess we'll just see like what happens this year. Hopefully their car like is better than what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, than last year. I think it'll give us a really good fight between like first, second, second,
Ferrari,
first, second, third.
Alpine, Ferrari, even Red Bull.
It will
all
be
up
interesting in that mix. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So now that we've had our meet, right?
Yes.
We're moving into
our favorite course.
Yeah, dessert. Or not dessert. So tune in to our next episode where we are going to go through Ferrari and all the things we love, eat, sleep, breathe Ferrari.
Yeah, if you haven't realized at this point, we're part of the Tifosi.
Yeah, we're Team Ferrari. We bleed red, literally.
We literally do. I've checked.
So, Alex, you want to give us our... I don't even know what we call it.
Outro?
What?
An outro.
Okay, there we go.
Sure, I don't know. Okay, so this has been Queens of the Paddock, an F1 podcast. I am Alex.
And I'm Courtney.
And you can listen to our podcast anywhere that you listen to your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of the different places. We're on YouTube with video, Spotify with video.
Yep.
And we're on Instagram at Queens of the Paddock.
Yeah, so tune in, and this has been a great time, and I'll end with our exit of lights out, and away we go.
Bye!
Bye!
See you later.
Okay. Yay! Oh gosh, my phone's been like blowing up.
I know.